So it struck me during the service, Dogen Zenji's Parinirvana Day. It might be nice to bring his voice, his words into this space before I start in here. When even one person at one time sits in Zazen, they become imperceptibly one with each and all the myriad things and permeate completely all time, so that within the limitless universe, throughout past, future, and present, they are performing the eternal and ceaseless work of guiding beings to enlightenment. I offer that to you because you just got through doing that. You just did that thing. I memorized that quote a long time ago because it hit me like a truck when I first heard it. And you've got it now on the recording. A lot of you know that passage. I encourage you to have a relationship with it. Ask yourself if you believe it. I'm not saying if you don't, your job is to believe it, but I would recommend having a relationship with that idea. It's kind of a lofty thought, isn't it? All right. So, hi, everyone.
Hi.
Good morning.
It's nice to be here. I have had the good fortune of speaking at Nebraska Zen Center a number of times now, but this is the first time in person in the flesh. So my breath is minty. And my eyes are glittering. I'm happy to be here. I am from the Twin Cities. I'm from Flying Cloud Zen community in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and also I'm a senior teacher at Minnesota Zen Meditation Center in Minneapolis. A lot of you have heard of that. So we are extended family here. Not only are we Soto Zen, but we're all in the Katagiri lineage, Katagiri family tree. So it's like visiting cousins. Some of your faces are familiar to me, some because of yesterday, and some of your faces are new to me. It's wonderful to be here, and I very sincerely thank you for having me. So what we're going to talk about today is appreciation, the idea of appreciation, what that actually is. I'll explain to you in a few minutes why I'm on that trip today, but I want to start with something else. And for those of you who were here yesterday, for our retreat, we spent the day playing with the Song of Zazen by Hakuin Senji. And I'm seeing a connection between what we did yesterday and the appreciation talk that we're going to play with today. So for those of you who are here, see if you can find the bridge. If you can't find it, don't worry about it. But this is the story I want to start off with. And as I'm telling you this very brief story, what I would be interested in knowing, actually what I'd be interested in you knowing, is what feelings arise in you as you hear it. Right? So Buddha would call this mindfulness of emotion. When it showed up, I noticed that it showed up and I knew what it was. Does that sound like mindfulness of emotion? Do you? No. Notice. I'm at the Minnesota State Fair at a Duran Duran concert in late August 2023. Between songs, lead singer Simon Le Bon is staring off into the distance of the darkening evening sky behind us. Look, he says, pointing, an old friend has joined us. We all turn to see a huge harvest moon, full and deep rust yellow, rising behind the grandstand. It's absolutely magnificent, and everyone cheers mightily. She's priceless, Simon explains in awe. And then he takes a breath and adds quietly, and she's worth half as much as you. So my question is, what emotions do you notice in you when you are reminded of your value? And why? What thoughts do we notice arise in us when we are reminded reminded of our value and why. And then finally, how do we behave? What action do we take? What do we do when we are reminded of our value and why? Thank you for doing that. I see a connection between what Dogen said about what we just did that we call Zazen, the eternal dimension of that, when even one person at one time sits in Zazen. They become imperceptibly one with each and all the myriad things and permeate completely all times within the limitless universe. Throughout past, future, and present, they are performing the eternal and ceaseless work of guiding beings to enlightenment. I can't think of a larger arena than that. And he insists that that's you. I do not know the heart of Dogen. I never met him. He is famous for mixing poetry and prose, for those of you who know Dogen. You know he is a brilliant writer, and he was fond of dancing back and forth between poetry and prose. And that passage is obviously very poetic in the size of its scope, right? It's a very evocative, poetic sounding passage. But there's something in the cells of my body that tell me very, very clearly, oh no, that wasn't a metaphor. He meant that very literally. And so when someone says, that thing is priceless, beyond all conceivable value, beyond all imaginings, and it's worth half as much as you, what do we notice? I notice in myself a lot of resistance. I'll tell you the truth. I notice in myself a lot of resistance. Thank you, Dogen. That's really inspiring. Thank you, Harvest Moon. Thank you, Simon Le Bon. I appreciate your kind words. You're obviously talking to somebody sitting behind me. But what a nice idea. It's clear to me that your Zazen permeates completely all space and time. Mine was kind of a mess today. I was mostly nervous about giving this talk. Watch myself review again. Your Zazen clearly is guiding beings eternally to enlightenment. But mine, my left knee has been really, really cranky for like 3 weeks now, because of a bad yoga sequence. So do you sort of see it? It's fascinating to notice the layers of truth within ourselves and how we respond to truth. Because I know rooms like this, rooms we call zendos, are designed to be containers of truth, places that we go that are so brave by their design and by their stewardship that we get to look at truth right in the face and allow it into us, allow ourselves to see it, to be it, to recognize it as us. I know that's why we're here. And so what that brings up in me is I should then have a relationship with all of the different parts of me that show up when I look in that mirror. I don't know. Does that make sense? That's where it took me. So I'm not sure why Simon Le Bon and Dogen decided to team up in my noodle today, but that's what
I'm very surprised because I don't even like Duran Duran. That was really amazing.
Oh yeah, he was lovely. He was really lovely. So now I'm going to give the talk. All that was just, I promise to keep my eye on the schedule. I'm not going to keep you long. What I want to talk about is the idea of appreciation. I'm going to start with a quote from Maizumi Roshi, Taizan Maizumi Roshi. A lot of you know that name. He was one of the first Zen pioneers, along with Katagiri and Suzuki. He came about at the same time. He had a very large following and ordained and transmitted many students. The name of the book that his students transcribed and published of his, one of the 2 or 3 books, I guess, that they transcribed and published of his teaching is called Appreciate Your Life. Taizan Maizumi Roshi, Appreciate Your Life. I recommend it. It's short. It's a pretty easy read. And there's a lot of depth to it. It's a little like Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, and the language is pretty plain. It's not super complicated. It's not uber Buddhist. But the Dharma that's in it is pretty good. So appreciate your life. He says in that book, seeing into his own nature, Buddha saw the universality of his life, the freedom of his life. Life is absolutely free from the beginning. It is not at all restricted. The Buddha found this out, and we should appreciate our life in this way. I'll say it again. Seeing into his own nature, Buddha saw the universality of his life, the freedom of his life. Life is absolutely free from the beginning. It is not at all restricted. The Buddha found this out, and we should appreciate our life in this way. Again, for those of you who were here yesterday, that's like exactly the first line of Song of Zazen. Life is the thing that happened first, and the Buddha went, oh wait, I'm awake, I'm life. Oh yeah, everything is. It isn't me, it's everything. Right? The universality of his life. We should appreciate our life in this way. So this is on my mind because I was having tea with one of my dear friends at the Zen Center, and I very much want to drop this person's name into this talk, and I will refrain from doing that because I know this person would not appreciate it. But this person said something wonderful. We were talking about grief, because she has 3 people in her life who are dear to her, who are actively dying right now. And I've been going through grief the past about 7 or 8 months, and so we were talking about grief. And as we were talking about, the impermanence of the human container and the nature of grief and the landscape, the emotional and the mental landscape of bearing witness to impermanence, there was kind of a long pause, and she said, it's an honor to appreciate this life. And there was just enough pause afterwards that I went, I gotta remember that. Mm. It's an honor to appreciate this life. I think it hooked because I already had my Zumi in my head. Appreciate your life, appreciate this life. The idea of appreciation and the connection between Zen and appreciation, to savor, right? To notice, to embody fully, to be fully mindful of, to be appreciative of. But what she added was, it's an honor to appreciate this life. And more so, the context in which she said that was, we're talking about people dying. And what arose was, it's actually an honor to appreciate that happening. She was not describing comfort, she was not describing enjoyment, but like just to be a vehicle of consciousness and to be able to take part in this is actually an honor. And so I decided I'm going to memorize what she just said. I'm going to write that down. I'm not going to let myself forget it because there's something in that for me, right? So that's what I want to talk about today. And what I'm encouraging you to do is to investigate that idea yourself. I'm going to offer you my thoughts, but I think something really profound was said when Maizumi Roshi said, when you realize your life is life, you should appreciate it. It gives rise to that. And a lot of us who have been doing Zen practice, whether for 6 weeks or for 60 years, know that the words that are translated into English that a lot of our teachers used was that Zen is designed to make us more present, and what arises is appreciation. Not clinging and grasping, but just appreciation. Right? Genuine boundarylessness between me and an experience. You hear this kind of language in Zen a lot, right? So I want to talk about my friend's sentence, but I'm just going to offer you my thoughts. And so you get to explore what that teaching might mean for you in your own life. And so I'm going to talk about the 4 key words. Honor, appreciate, this, I think is a big one, and life. As you can tell, I spent a lot of time thinking about this. I wrote that sentence down and said, God, there's a lot going on there. And I wrote. So I really wanted to learn from my friend. So I'm going to go in reverse order. I'm going to start with the word life, because that seems appropriate on Parinirvana Day. The way we're using life here, of course, is everything. Life includes death in this tradition, all of creation, all of experience, all of vanished, and then you came back. We waited for you.
Oh.
Are you hearing okay? The sound is okay there at home? Okay,
Now we can. At least.
This microphone is very imposing. It looks like something that,
In the 50s.
yeah, it's like got a, fly me to the moon kind of thing going on. Very Frank Sinatra kind of. Why are we defining life in such a grand way? We're defining life in such an all-encompassing way. I think I'll say it again because I think we appreciate as Zen practitioners that picking and what we call picking and choosing, I can appreciate this and not this. That's very human, that makes sense. That's very much what our ego selves do, of course, with preferences. But we understand that the landscape we're being invited into with practice doesn't have such limitations. If I can appreciate this and not this, the limit is mine. The limit isn't reality. Does that make sense? Like something isn't broken about creation. If I can't appreciate it, it's about me. The limitation is here. So you go, oh, it's an honor to appreciate this life. That means everything. If there's the thing in there you can't appreciate, that's you, not it. Right? This is a common tendency of mine. We all do this, every single one of us, every single day. We all agree rain is bad. And you're like, well, no, actually it isn't. You guys all really hate that song, right? Well, no, actually not everybody does. You guys all really love peanut butter on here? Well, no. But this is how we work, right? We project out and we assume things external to us have some sort of agreed upon constant value, and then they just don't. They just don't. That's why we look so deeply at things. That's why we are exposed to the teaching of emptiness. When they look at something very, 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 very closely, it sort of stops being separate and merges into. And its goodness merges into badness, and its badness merges into goodness. And we start going, oh, that's me. Oh, that's me, I see. It's an honor to appreciate this life. Is an invitation to see, of course, boundarylessness and everything, but the appreciation, the onus of the appreciation is on me. And the word "this" seems really important. I love the way that was expressed. It would be very easy to say it's an honor to appreciate my life. There's nothing wrong with that. I can have ownership over that. But I notice there's a very different feeling in me when I say it's an honor to appreciate this life. Because as I say, this life, all of us in this room are included in that. All of us everywhere are included in that. We all go, yeah, this life, this life. Can you feel by making that impersonal that we're all, yeah. That's what we call transpersonal, not mine, not yours. This is a present tense state. It's immediate. And we also understand that it includes the past and the future. When we admire the Grand Canyon, we are admiring both the past, the present, and the future. Our admiring is outside of time. And it touches all three worlds at once. In your translation, do we say the three worlds here, or the three?
It's supposed to be 6 realms of existence, I think is what was missing.
Well, the three worlds is past, present,
right.
and future, which is a little different than the realms. Anyway, in our translation of the all Buddhas, 10 directions, 3 times, is the translation we use up at the 3 worlds of the 3 times is the past, the present, and the future. Our state of admiring is outside of those things, which means it can touch them all equally. This life, when we say this life, it's an honor to appreciate this life. We know that includes the past, the present, and the future. And then the key word in Maizumi's book, and the key word in my friend Zen's appreciate. That's got a lot of different possible meanings, so I'm talking about it in a particular way. I'm going to suggest today that it's one way of talking about mindfulness. We all know the word mindfulness now, right? We know it so well that we kind of tend to not hear it. At least I can say for myself, I tend to not hear it. I tend to translate it into non-identified, non-egoic, non-judgmental observation. So that sounds clinical and awful. Non-judgmental observation. Oh, for crying out loud. Oh, darling, I non-judgmentally observe you. It doesn't really evoke emotion, does it? Of course, mindfulness implies non-judgment, of course. That feels like a nice starting place. Mindfulness does mean disidentification, but what it doesn't mean is to disown or disavow. What I'm saying is when we figure out that the thing that I am observing is not me, that shouldn't mean we don't care. And we're very quick to do that, right? To mindfully observe is to realize, oh, I'm the observer. I'm not what's being observed. That's true. Can you notice your body? You are therefore not it. Oh, yeah, basic Buddhism. You can observe that thing. You are therefore not it. Mindfulness of the body, he taught, right? And then mindfulness of the breath, he taught. Oh, and then mindfulness of emotion in this order, Satipatthana Sutta. Oh, and then mindfulness of impulses or whatever translation we're saying about the energy underneath the, and then finally, observation of thoughts. You are not the thoughts, you're watching them. And so what a lot of us tend to do, because all those things contain suffering, is go, not me, not me, not me, not me. Can you feel it and go, oh, no, I don't care. Non-identification or disidentification doesn't mean that thing isn't part of you. It just means it's not the whole of you. Right? The crying baby that you're holding isn't you. You understand that when you're holding a baby that's crying. You're not confused about who that is. You're not confused at all about who that is. But you're holding it awfully close, aren't you? Its cheek is right up against yours. You can feel its hot breath as it cries. You bet you care. You don't have to grasp and attach and own. You don't have to have an agenda. You don't have to turn it into you. No. But you also don't have to do the opposite, which is, it sounds like you're having a bad day. Sucks to be you. Gotta go. Because you can. You can leave the house. You won't hear the crying anymore. People do that. They do that on the cushion all the time. When their suffering arises, they go, where's my breath? There it is. I'll just weaponize my breath by turning away from the thing in me that was crying, not you. Ooh, turns out we do that a lot. Turns out that's so habitual for all of us that we need to be reminded, no, you can appreciate stuff that sucks. It's hard and you can still appreciate it. You can appreciate the sound of that cry. Of course you can. You can appreciate the pain that's in your own body. You can appreciate the choke that comes to your throat when you remember the person that you lost. You can appreciate that. Is that not part of your life? It's an incredibly precious part of your life, talking about something in you that is incredibly precious. To love something so much that you feel it in its absence, that's part of the human experience. It's an incredible movement of consciousness. Think of the connection that is still alive. Think of the non-separateness that's showing itself in your body as pain or grief or dukkha. And so to say, I will include you in the arena of my appreciation. You are still here. I feel you. To appreciate that. Again, not to cling, grasp, try to cultivate, try to create. I'm not talking about that. We're just noticing that it's there like the harvest moon and like, I include you. I include you, yeah. That's the size of Zazen Dogen is talking about. That's the size of Zazen we're all welcomed into doing when we come into this beautiful space. To remember, I am life, I am consciousness. I can include all of it. I can appreciate all of it. I really can. That is my birthright. I will grow into doing that. I vow to do it, actually. I vow to do it. I vow to do it. Wow. Think of the size of that. And its intimacy with everything. I noticed Thich Nhat Hanh, a lot of you, of course, you all know that name. I noticed the subtle change in his language as he taught during the many years that he taught. At the very beginning, he was the pioneer of mindfulness of breathing. Please pay attention to your breath. Be mindful of your breath. Oh, think of what he did to change the world by just bringing that simple Buddhist teaching to the world. And by the end of his career, right before his stroke, he was using words like, enjoy your breathing. Very same teaching, but a subtle change in the language. Mindfulness is more than just observe and don't judge. Can you feel what's underneath that? Just a little bit more of a leaning toward. Enjoy it. More than just don't judge it, enjoy it. Appreciate it. It's going. Now appreciate implies care, it implies affection, it implies wholeheartedness. Wholeheartedness being a literal word, whole, all of us as heart, all of us as heart. That's the appreciation organ, right? Does that sound right to you? The appreciation organ is the heart. Oh, there's the part that responds to the harvest moon. Oh, right? And then the brain can get in there and go, well, it actually seems that big because it's being filtered through the atmosphere and the light range has been changed. It's not actually orange, it's actually gray. But you see, blah, 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 blah. And that's cool. That's cool. We got big, juicy brains. That's great. That's cool. Have a big, juicy brain. But you can feel the predominant, right? The emperor organ, the primary organ is the thing that goes, this is the organ that recognizes. This is the organ that recognizes. Loving connection. That's what mindfulness actually is. The reason I'm hitting that so hard is because I think appreciation, loving connection implies not only relationship, but right relationship. We use that term in this tradition a lot, right relationship. That's all it means. I appreciate it. I include it. Anything seen deeply is holy. When even one person at one time sits in Zazen, you can see he's just seeing an ordinary person sitting down and shutting up for 20 minutes. That's all that's happening, you guys, right? There's nothing special about that. We drove across town. It's Omaha, Nebraska. We found a spot outside. We came into this old house. We just sat still and shut up for half an hour. That's all we did. We're just normal people wearing normal clothes doing a normal thing. What'd you do? I sat up and breathed. That's about the most ordinary thing in the history of the world. It's very ordinary, nothing special. And that is true. And what is also true is what Dogen said. When you look all the way down and you see how deep that goes, just like every other thing you look at closely, it slips right through your fingers. You can't grab onto it. That's one person at one time sitting in Zazen, and you see it so deeply, you go, oh my God, it's holy, it's everything. It's absolutely brilliant. What a beautiful thing. Have you all had moments like that? Even short moments where just the veil is gone for just a few minutes and you look at the world and go, oh my God, look at all of it. It's perfect, glittering, full, lacks nothing. I spent my whole life fighting against it. Everything's perfect. Look at that guy walking to the grocery store, gonna buy grapes. Words fail. But there it is, most ordinary thing. Seen all the way down, reveals itself to be everything. It is an honor to appreciate. All right, one more quick story. I'm getting there, folks. We're almost done. I stole this from somebody named David Holtz, who I have no idea about, but I got it on Instagram, so this is what we're going to work with. I'm 14 years old, at the beach in my hometown, feeling like, whatever, this is boring, who cares, really? That sounds like every 14-year-old I have ever met. Then this woman ran out onto the sand and she exclaimed, "It's the ocean." I asked her, what? I grew up in Colorado. I've never seen the ocean. My God, there's so much water. Tears began streaming down her face. And I thought, we're on the same beach, but mine is boring and hers is beautiful. And if I get to choose, I'd rather be on her beach. As she walked away, continuing to exclaim to herself about the palm trees and the coconuts, I thought about how easily we can numb ourselves to beauty and how I didn't want to live that way. And so for the rest of my childhood, that beach was very different. It's a very sweet story. But either accidentally or on purpose, he's saying something and he's inviting a very Buddhist idea in when he says, if I get to choose, I'd rather be on her beach. And so some things we might ask ourselves when we think about those two human beings having that experience highlights what I think in our tradition, because we heard it in the beautiful echo that George chanted for us, the three poisons. Desire, 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 right? We're Buddhists. It's like the devil, we gotta kill it. Desire, desire, grasping, bad, bad, bad. What about appreciation? Isn't that in that same camp? Well, are they close? Are they different? What's the line? What's going on? When does appreciation turn into desire? I'm interested in that idea, right? So my question is, the woman from Colorado, did she appreciate the ocean or did she desire it?
Both.
I don't know the answer to that. Maybe both, perhaps. Perhaps some part of her wanted to grasp it and own it. We might call that desire. Perhaps she didn't want to grasp and own it, and she just was beholding it with a full heart. Perhaps we'd call that appreciation. Did the narrator appreciate the ocean? Did he desire it? At the end of the story, our narrator says he didn't want to live that way anymore. He was aware of his choice, and so for the rest of his childhood, that beach was very different. His comments suggest to us that we have some agency over how we perceive the world. That's the part, of course, that felt really Buddhist to me, right? I'm asking if you think that's true. Do you think it's true that you have agency over how you perceive the world? And if that is in fact something you believe is true, what do you imagine that he did to change his perception? Because remember, he's a 14-year-old, he's sitting on the beach and he's bored. He watches somebody appreciate the thing he is bored by, and he realizes he has a choice. So what did he actually do there? Just carry that question with you. That's not a question we need to answer right now. But that actually seems like a really relevant question in this room. Like what? Kid's the same, beach is the same. What happened? Something about his awareness. Something about what he did with his awareness, right? That changed it from I'm bored by this to, oh, right? That feels like a really important thing for us to play with in this room. It sort of seems like that's kind of like what Zen practice is sort of really, really closely related to is the, right? My Zazen was boring. Yeah, I know that feeling. All of you know that feeling. What does that mean? What is that about? For me, I can't say it's the way the bell was rung. Oh yeah, screwed up the bell. Now it's gonna be boring Zazen. Wouldn't it be cool? He had that much power. Think of how much money he could make. I guarantee amazing Zazen, because I will ring the bell in such a way that I promise you will notice that isn't that fascinating? Because I know that when I'm sitting in a zendo full of people like yourselves, that if I'm sitting here and being bored, the person sitting next to me is probably experiencing grief, and the person sitting next to them is experiencing anger or frustration, and the person sitting next to them is experiencing sleepiness, and the person next to them is right? And you go, wow. We're all devoted to coming to this place and being really, really, really present and trying our best to appreciate whatever is showing up. And that this room is so large, it can include all of those things. And I'm not failing because I'm bored. But the minute I notice that I'm bored and I'm very, very curious about it, and I go, oh, boredom is here. I wonder what that's about. Hey, I'm really interested. Can you feel now I'm appreciating? Ah, suddenly boredom isn't some sort of enemy to be defeated. It's just a wave. It's a wave to be very, very curious about. So, I'm going to end with my friend's first word. The first word I want to talk about, because I think that's the most important thing. Appreciating our life, appreciating our life. Appreciating our life is what Maizumi Roshi encouraged us to do. And my friend said it's an honor to appreciate this life. And I think Maizumi would agree with her. But I want to end with that word because although that word, like appreciate, has lots of different meanings, honor can mean pride, right? You lived a life of honor. We're talking about puffed up pride. That's a defense. It's shame, right? That's an ego-based understanding. The way that this was talked about, I'm talking about a very different type of honor. Again, I'm going to suggest to you today that honor is right relationship. When I honor you in my relationship with you, I am in right relationship with you. This relationship honors us both. You can kind of feel, right, the spirit of that. Honor is a Busshō, the spirit of willing and grateful surrender, the surrender of attachment, the surrender of privilege, the surrender of preference, the submission of our ego to our Buddha nature, our truest self. Honor is profound respect. Honor is spiritual joy. And as Soto Zen Buddhists, honor is in lots of ways connected to our vow. It's connected to our vow. It might be safe to say the Bodhisattva vows are a way of saying, I vow to appreciate this life. It is my duty to do so. It is my privilege to do so. It is my honor to do so. But that is my vow. I vow to appreciate this life. So, I remember today our infinite value, and I remember today that even though that's a really high bar for me personally, the aspiration to appreciate my life, especially when it shows up as suffering, I remind myself that that's what I'm here to do, and I remind myself that my vow, whether I experience a moment with appreciation or not, remains the same. I believe I share that vow with all of you. We might use different words to describe it, but I believe that's what we're here to do. And I thank you for being here. I thank you for your attention. I thank you for your zazen. I thank you for your practice. I thank you for letting me into your space and letting me ramble for 45 minutes. And I feel supported and inspired. I always feel supported and inspired when I go to other practice centers and see other forms of the Dharma. Everybody's family style always inspires me. If it's stricter than mine, if it's looser than mine, if it's bigger than mine or smaller than mine, I just always go, oh, 1,000 flowers blooming, 1,000,000 flowers blooming. It's really inspiring to me. So I want to thank you.
Thank you.
And my understanding is we have some time. I know we have to be done by 11:30. Is that right? So if folks at home or here in the room have something they'd like to offer, thoughts on appreciation or thoughts on Dogen's Parinirvana they'd like to offer, the floor is yours. Any questions or whatever? It's wonderful. Open it up. Anybody have anything? Yeah, please.
So with appreciation, my ego just gets so involved in stuff. And, I think that some of this times, just to give you an example, I volunteer at my mom's dementia facility, and then we go to the assisted living side, and I love to dance. So I dance with my mom, I have my mom dance. Some people can't dance, they're in wheelchairs, and I come and I dance with them. And then I guess some people started commenting that they were upset that they missed me dancing, and that it brings them a lot of joy. And I'm like, gosh, I didn't realize that, they really appreciate that, and what an honor it is to be able to be there with them. But I'm a performer. So now my ego is right there. Oh, I'm just there, I want to sit and perform. So my ego always wants to get involved in this. That's the first thing. The second thing, and I don't know how to deal with that, because I don't want that to be. And then the second thing is I want appreciation like the moon to be, wow, that's so fucking cool, yeah. And sometimes appreciating being there with someone is so painful, to see that they're deteriorating, to see that they're frightened, that, that there was a lady that was crying because she couldn't get out of the dementia facility and she didn't know where her husband was. And I was able to sit with her. I'm like, Morris, you just celebrated your 48th wedding anniversary. He's such a good husband. You've got a really good guy. And, that didn't feel like, wow, the harvest moon. That felt like, God, this woman is suffering. Can you comment on those two things?
Boy, I sure know what you're talking about. That doesn't feel like the harvest moon, does it?
No, it doesn't. And I really want it to.
Yeah.
I want it to be so different.
Isn't that the truth? I love how simply you put that. Isn't that nice? You talked yourself into a beautifully wise statement there. I just want it to be different. Does that resonate with every single human? I won't even have you raise your hands. 8 billion of us. There's 8 billion of us on this planet right now, and all of us know, I want this to be different. I really feel that with you. I don't know that I have anything for you. I know that, I love the grandeur of the harvest moon rock concert story because it's big appreciation. But I also
is that your
appreciate-
story, by the way?
It is my story.
Yes,
Yeah. But I also appreciate and I recognize those moments of a kind of clear seeing can be they're invisible, very, very quiet. Oh, yeah. I appreciate that you can't see it right now. And I appreciate that I can feel the pain in your voice when you describe how badly you want to leave this facility. I see it because I can appreciate the pain in me. Yep, I know that feeling. You want it to be different too, just like me. We're not separate. Yep. Yep. To me, the appreciate is the yep. Yes. 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 The yes is the inclusion. I include this. I think up until that point, our tendency is the nope. Do you feel the little piece of kung fu there? It's like, I noticed that I want it to be different. Yeah, I noticed that I want it to be different. That's the magic trick. I've just become the noticer of the preference. Of course it's there. I expect to have an ego self who wants it to be different until that ego self is dead. It would be silly for me to expect that to be different, right? I expect that as long as this Dharma container, what we call a body, is alive in form, it's going to prefer about 70 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
And when it gets down to 50, it's going to say, it's too cold. And when it gets up to 85, it's going to say, it's too hot. It's Goldilocks, right?
Yeah.
It always wants it to be different. And every time that I sit down and go, oh, I see you, you're wanting it to be different. Oh, yeah. Of course you do. You're a body. A little cold for you today, a little hot for you today. There you go, I see you. What I love about the way you asked your question is, it ends up being, I am now in a relationship with the part of me that wants it to be different. Instead of, how do I get rid of the part of me that wants to be different? That's the refusal of relationship. That's the no, you're the bad part of me, and if you were gone, I'd be happy. This is the laugh of recognition because, oh yeah, that's 95% of the time for all of us, right? The beautiful piece of kung fu you did there is, I can watch that part because you asked about it. Like, oh yeah, oh, I noticed that. And then really cool, you noticed, you know what, there's part of me that received the message of, oh, appreciation. Oh, I missed your dancing. You were here dancing. Oh, I missed it. I wish I could have been here.
Yeah.
I love that you did that. I love that you saw that. All of us can see that too, right? Oh, wait. There, I go, oh, now desire. Oh, hi, desire. Because I can feel the little hungry ghost in there. I can feel the little grasper. Like, oh, I appreciate you arising. I understand that you're there. You'll notice what happens to my voice. Because I know there's a lot of pain underneath. The part of me that really wants to be special must come from the part of me that doesn't believe he's very special. And the part of me that's bored at the beach and thinks this beach sucks. Oh, sweetheart, what's going on? What's going on? I say yes to you too, it's okay. Oh, now, the way we're using the word appreciation today can be, I understand how the ego operates. I understand how it's going to co-opt that dancing and it's going to try to turn into something. Oh, I see how you work. It's just a function of me, just a function. I see how you work, elbow. Hot dog, look at you. Can you bend the other way? Oh, no, I guess not. Nope, that's just the one thing it does. Okay, well done you. Are you me? Nope. But you're included in me. I appreciate what you do. I understand why you do it. And the beauty of your insight, because there's a lot of insight in your question, is I notice the part of me that wants to co-opt this and make this into something about me. And so all of us can recognize, yeah, that makes sense. We all do that. We do it every day. Because we're Zen practitioners who go, oh, there must be some dukkha underneath there. Yeah, it wants my attention. Does that make sense?
A lot.
Does that make sense? Yeah. What a wonderful thing. Oh, I can appreciate all those layers. Yeah.
That really helps. Thank you very
Oh,
much.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. You knew all that. I just gave it back to you. Do other folks have something they want to share today, or? Please, Sarah.
Hi, thank you for your talk. That was
Sure.
great. We're in Dharma Book Club right now. We're reading Inside the Grass Hut. Yeah, and I don't know if you've read it, and it's so good so far. And I'm noticing, I just got done with, I can't remember, chapter 2, I think, and I'm noticing some parallels between what you were talking about and how you were framing appreciation, and how the poem that the book is about is very much about like ease and living with ease. And so when you were talking about appreciation, how obviously it includes like everything that's joyful and expansive, and but also really trying to widen the scope of what that means to include even things that are challenging and difficult and parts of ourselves that we don't necessarily, find flattering or whatever. But the way the book talks about ease, and the sentence I highlighted was that ease is a discipline, which sounds counterintuitive, but the things that you were talking about, appreciation, to me, included all the things about ease, maybe more so ease, appreciating the things that are difficult, that we don't necessarily it's not our instinct to appreciate, but it includes all of mindfulness and acceptance and curiosity.
Yeah.
And if we are able to be at ease with the things that we find difficult, then it makes it more possible, I feel like, for us to appreciate those things with all of those components that, that we can practice as a discipline, mindfulness and acceptance and curiosity. And I think that just kind of bolsters our ability, to possibly be able to do that for ourselves. Yeah, I don't know.
100%, I agree with every word. I completely agree with that. I like the idea that, it's such a Ben sense. He and I are, Ben Connolly is the one who wrote the Inside the Grass Hut book, for those of you who are, he's an MZMC guy who was ordained with me. And it's such a Ben sentence, I love that. Yeah, the idea of expanding to include is where that takes me. It is a discipline, isn't it? It's easy for us to say, can you appreciate chocolate cake? Yeah, as a matter of fact, I'm a PhD at appreciating chocolate cake. I'm just using that as my metaphor. Everybody, yeah. Can you appreciate a sunny day? Can you appreciate the laughter of a child? Yes. Can you appreciate the sunflowers? Yes. Come on. Can you appreciate being stuck in traffic for 45 minutes? I'm stretching just a little bit. There's no physical suffering there. But there's suffering there. That's mine. That's interesting. I wonder where that's coming from. I'm just in a car in a line of other cars. Nothing bad is happening in my life. But I'm noticing suffering is arising because I want it to be different. Oh, the Buddha talked about this, didn't he? He said that was me. I'm stretching. You can feel I'm stretching because I have discipline. And I might find myself in the car going, oh, I notice that I'm getting myself worked up. I notice I'm wandering to the future. I notice I'm listening to a story about how I'm going to be late and what they're going to think and how that's going to make me feel. And I notice that, and then I get to make a decision about what I want to do with that. Do I want to return to just hands on the wheel? Can you feel the texture? Can you feel the texture of the wheel? Where's your breath right now? Oh, it's up here, high and tight. Back down again. There you go. That's my discipline. I love discipline. And what I love about the idea of being stretched is, after a while, I really can I actually can appreciate my life when it's in a car, stuck in traffic. It's no less my life. And the idea of being a discipline, because you're right, home hits that all the time. After eating, I relax and enjoy hundreds of years and walk innocent. There's a beautiful relationship there between ease of the body and ease of, the spiritual ease of understanding that we belong and that everything is included. Very much, even though it's small, it includes the entire world as the grass hut. Everything is to be appreciated. Definite. I see the connective tissues that you're pointing to. So, because I like to do this, because the word discipline for me was really hard, and I promise I'll wrap up because I know we're getting close. I have a difficult relationship with the word discipline because of how it was used when I was a child. Discipline, and I turned out, I'm not alone, this is actually pretty common. Discipline is a synonym for punishment. Does that make sense? Punishment is designed to give you pain and or shame so that you associate that pain and or shame with the thing that you just did so that you do not do the thing you just did. Does that make sense? If you reach out again for the thing that isn't yours, I whack your hand, you now associate the pain with reaching out and you don't reach out anymore, right? And if I can't whack your hand, I'm gonna say you're a bad little boy. Then you go, oh shit, I'm feeling shame and I associate with, okay, so do you feel it? And then that, sadly, that's called punish. I give you a bad experience so that you, it's actually very Buddhist, it's association, because we associate. So that was called discipline. It is not, in fact, discipline. That is incorrect use of that word. The word discipline is the word disciple. So what am I being a disciple of in that moment? I'm being a disciple of my pain, and I'm being a disciple of my shame. I'm believing those things to be true about me. I'm a bad little boy for reaching out for that. I should never have done that, right? If I'm lucky and I grow to be older, as I did, I get to re-examine my relationship with that word, because self-discipline in Zen is huge. You all did it already today because you got up and you obeyed your alarm clock, and then you drove across town, and then you sat still. You sat still in the Zendo because that's part of self-discipleship. Oh, baby. If I'm going to appreciate my life, I'm a disciple of my life. Can you feel that's right relationship? We understand to be a disciple of something is to willingly, lovingly, gratefully, right? Accept. Oh, of course. Yes, that is true. Yes. Can you feel the part of me that surrenders to that? Not surrender out of shame or brokenness or badness, but I surrender the lie to the truth, right? So the part of you, when I told you the big Harvest Moon story, that went, no. And the part of you, when you heard the Dogen quote about how your Zazen is what it is, the part of you went, no, that's just for me. I just sit 20 minutes a day because I really want to have a chiller mind. And we end up being invited very kindly to surrender. As part of our practice, we surrender that much smaller narrative to the truth of what we really are. It's absolutely a discipline. It's absolutely the movement of our Buddha nature. So absolutely ease is. And the connection between appreciation, ease means to be not defended against, to not be resistant to. That's kind of where I think he takes it in the book, if I remember right. Mm-hmm. It's been a while since I read that. But yeah, for sure I see those. You know, Shitu's voice and Hakuin's voice are very, very different, but because we spent the day yesterday with Song of Zazen, and because Hakuin must have been in kind of a ooey gooey, feeling good mood when he wrote it. They both have kind of a friendly, there's actually a lot of overlap. Ben and I have talked about this. There's actually a lot of overlap between the teachings of those two poems. So yeah, I hear you. There's a Dharma talk in that. Sarah, next Sunday. All right, folks, I know I want to honor the schedule. I really appreciate your engagement with all this stuff. Isn't it nice to be able to do this? We're so lucky to have Nebraska Zen Center. Thank you. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And I know we have a